Hello everyone, Tashtale. So I'm here with the geography part of class 9. Since we have already completed economic part in a few previous sessions, so before we go through, I'll just give you a brief introduction of the textbook. So the textbook is called The Contemporary India 1, and there are 6 chapters. From where today we will discuss about the physical features of India. Okay, so let's quickly see what are the topics that we will gonna cover. So alright, so first we will be discussing about first I'll do the introduction part of the chapter, then we'll discuss about the major physiographic division, where we'll discuss the Great Himalayan Mountains, the Northern Plains, the Peninsular Plateaus, the Indian Desert, and the Coastal Plains and the island. Alright, so let's quickly go through. So when we say relief features, right, in Tibetan we call it as sabab. Sajji ki sabab khande res labena ji kya do ji sabab khande do ji res labena sabab la manda ma bo ra pesha bana ta ji thang la ta ri khang ri la ta thang che dang che anzu ki lung shong la ta dige de sur ba ta dige de anzu ki ta kya gi ji sabab ki tu dang dang ji la ba dige to la ma ji shivdashin ma to re all so before we understand how right at present the continent, the way how we see or witness, right, or the location of the continents, right, it was never the same, right, before, let's say, because this formation of or the position or happened, right, or took place mainly because of certain factors, where the most prominent is the endogenic force, right, released from beneath the earth, and the movement of tectonic plates. Scientists believe that there are 7 major plates and many minor plates. What we need to understand is how the evolution that took place. So it has been right through a long geological process, or let's say geographical process, right? At the beginning, we normally say it is because of the tectonic plates. So whenever we come across, let's say, evolution of Earth, or let's say relief features, then we end up in certain theories such as like tectonic plates theory, or let's say continental drift theories, right? So basically tectonic plates theory describes a large-scale motion of Earth's lithosphere. This theory is based on continental drift, which explains the information of various continents, or the formation of the different various continents over the millions of years. So that means the major role here played by is tectonic plates. Because of which there has been like sudden movements, and at the same time resulting to a formation of different relief features on the surface, right? So when we say continental drift, right, so as I try to bring these figures over here, right, through this continental drift theory, so at the beginning, before 300 million years, right, so our Earth has a single landmass with a single water body. So the single landmass used to called Pangea, and the single water body was used to called as Panthalhasa. So it started to evolve, and gradually, right, this single landmass started to separate, and the northern part we call it as Laurasia, and the southern part we call it as Gondwana land, and the third one is the present continents, location of the continents. Okay, so here you can see, right, in the beginning it used to be a single landmass, and gradually, right, with the movement of tectonic plates, it started to separate, and that's how the continent is formed, or let's say Alright, so when we talk about continental drift and the movement of tectonic plates, then we normally categorize it into 3 different plate boundaries. So the first one is convergent boundaries, Right. So what happens in convergent boundaries is the convergent boundaries, normally two plates comes together and collides, so resulting in the formation of relief features, different relief features on the surface, right? And in this particular collision, what happens is when the two plate collides, right, either one goes down, right, or up, right, comes out on a surface by forming a mountain, right, or let's say hill, right. Then we have the second plate boundary, that is transformed boundary. So where the two plates move past each other horizontally. So that means they normally pass each other in a horizontal form, and resulting in formation of again a relief feature in the surface. And the third one is divergent boundary. So in the third divergent boundary, we normally just talk about two plates moving away from each other. Right. So plate chikda ni pesha plate ni to sheba na korani chik pa tuwa ma to ba chik ko pa gyangta ring ru to la sheba tende to chik chawi kengi ya chik nga zugi surface la chik difference ta chik de na la sabab ki ke ba shwe chik tende yore sam to ra tende to chik yore ta nga zugi movement chibi kapsula chik tangi ki de present ro chik shago ro chik ra ta deep is be de chida nga zugi ta sayam ge ki present shire. Also, so after this we have the Great Himalayan Mountains, right? So as you can see very clearly in this slide, that we have India map at the same time. We have the Great Northern Himalayas, right? So normally what we do is we have certain categories, or it is categorized in three different sections or category. So the first is called the Great Himalayas, or the Himalayas, or in the south of the Great Himalaya lies the Himachal, and the third one is the Shivalik. So we'll discuss about these three ranges of Himalayas in a detail in the coming slides. So the Himalayan mountains. So Himalayan mountains are normally considered as geologically young and structurally fold mountains stretch over the northern boundaries of India. So it is considered as, when we say in a geological process, then we consider this Himalayan mountains as young, and structurally it's a fold mountain, whereby when we say fold mountain, so when the plate moves, movement of the plate, right, at the same time collision, and when after the collision, when there is a change in the surface, and the land rises around 5 to 6 kilometers, then we normally categorize it as a fold mountain, right? And the second one, it says mountain ranges runs in a west to east direction from the Indus to Brahmaputra. So it's very clear that the Himalayan mountains, right, it runs from Indus, right, in Kashmir, and till Arunachal Pradesh, where we have Brahmaputra. And if we talk about the distance covered by this particular range, then it is around 2,400 kilometers, right, and it varies from 400 in Kashmir and 150 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. Then it represents lofty and rugged mountains in the world. So that means this particular mountainous range is very high in terms of peak. It's very high. At the same time, right, it has a very let's say less possibility of vegetation. And as I already mentioned, that Himalayan mountain ranges are categorized into three different categories. So first one is the Great or Inner Himalayas, or Himadri. Then B is Himachal or Lesser Himalaya, and the third one is Shivaliks. Alright, so the Great or Inner Himalayas, or the Himadri. So the most continuous range is consisting of the loftiest peak with the average height of 600 meters. Wow. The ridigish color toset or the mixing toset chamber yoga consilagic rich chamber in the Yoresla after Chidan Ra. At the same time, it contains all the prominent Himalayan peaks. So if we talk about prominent Himalayan peaks in India, it also all lies in this particular Himalayan range. asymmetrical in nature. So there is not symmetrical in form in nature. So that means it has like dissimilarities in its shapes. And the core parts are composed of granite. So the particular this Himalayan core parts are granite, it's composed of granite and perennially snowbound. That means it never stays without snowbound or covered, snow covered, whole year, whenever we talk about perennial, then we are talking about whole year, So we'll come to this particular term in the coming chapters also. Perennial means whole year. So here perennially snowbound means these mountains are covered with snow whole year, every year. All right, so there is not a single year or month where these mountains go without any snow or glaciers. All right. And the second is Himachal or the Lesser Himalayas. So this lies in the south of the Great Inner Himalayas. So it lies to the south of Himadri. So that is the Great Inner Himalaya. Then we have the most rigid mountain system and known as Himachal or Lesser Himalayas. So this mountainous range, also is also considered as most rigid. That means there is a very less possibility of vegetation. It's very rough. And the range are composed of highly compressed and altered rock. So that means it is formed. These ranges are formed when the tectonic plates started move, and when this physical features started to formed in a surface. So it formed due to the heavy compression force, and at the same time the altered rock means the very origin of formation process or the material by which these rocks are formed started to lose its originality, so we call it altered rocks. Then the third one is altitude varies between like 3,700 meters to 4,500 meters. I think that's a and the average width is like around 50 kilometers. And the longest and the most important range is Pir Panjal range. So Pir Panjal range is considered as one of the longest in this category on this Himalayan range, and at the same time very important. So Pir Panjal range is normally you can witness this range from Dalhousie, Himachal Pradesh, and the Dauladar range and Mahabharat range are prominent one. So it consists of famous valleys such as Kashmir Valley, Kangra Valley, Kullu Valley, which are in Himachal Pradesh. So this region is also well known for its hill station, Dharamshala, Masuri. Okay, so this particular picture depicts the Pir Panjal range of Dalhousie, and here it is Dauladar range of Kangra district. Okay, so the third one, which lies, the Shivalik mountain range lies in the south of Himachal mountain range, So the outermost range of Himalaya is called Shivaliks. Alright, so they extend over between 10 to 50 kilometers with the altitude variation between 900 to 1,100 meters height. And these ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by the river. So what happens is this mountainous range particularly is formed by the depositional work of rivers, and the valleys are covered with thick gravels and alluvium. So it is very, very suitable whenever we come across alluvium, then it is very suitable for, or let's say favorable for agriculture. The longitudinal valleys lying between Lesser Himalayas or Shivaliks are called Lesser Himalayas, and Shivaliks are called dunes. So longitudinal valleys, when there is a particular valleys which lies between the Lesser Himalaya and the Shivaliks, alright, so these particular regions are called as dunes. So we have Dera dunes, we have Kotli dunes, we have Patli dunes. So this region lies in between of Lesser Himalayan range and Shivalik range. Chesang range dingi ki parala yebe saja churba. Tigel la kharla gresla dun la gres la. Oh yeah. So here you have Dehradun, right? Okay. All right, so let's move to the Himalayan. Himalayan are divided on the basis of region from west to east by the river valley. So in the previous slides, we have seen, right, the valleys. It also plays an prominent role in order to let's say it somehow act as an water. It's similar to water divide, right? So longitudinal valleys also describes the area, particular area lying between the Lesser Himalayas and the Shiva Lake. Similarly, we have rivers, right, which also plays an important role. Right? So Himalayan are divided on the basis of region from west to east by river valleys. So in this type, we have categorize this into 6 sections, right? So first one, we have the first category is from Indus River, right? From here, from Indus River to Satluj, we have these particular regions are called as Punjab Himalaya, right? And from Satluj to Kali River, this particular region is called as Kuman Himalayas, and from Kali River to Kosi River, these particular regions are called as Nepal Himalaya, and from Kosi River to Tista, this small portion of regions are called as Sikkim Himalayas, and from Tista to Brahmaputra, these particular regions are called as Assam Himalayas. Okay, so here we came to know that longitudinal division of valleys, right? We learned about dunes, right? when the water river valley divides Himalaya, then we have Punjab Himalaya, Kuman Himalayas, we have Nepal Himalaya, Sikkim Himalaya, and Assam Himalayas. All right, so and at the same time, at the eastern part, we have Purvanchals, right? And Purvanchals we normally discuss about, or we come across the prominent hills, right? Such as we have Patkai Hill, Patkai Bhum, right? We have Naga Hills, we have Manipur Hills, and we have Lushai Hills, and we have Mizo Hills. So these are normally considered as Purvanchal, right? Okay. Okay, so the northern plain. So since we have now covered the Himalayan ranges, now we are coming down to the northern plain. All right, so northern plain is considered, right, as very important because this is the region which has the efficiency, right, or let's say it is more favorable, right, and it provides more opportunities for agriculture. All right, so it is formed by interplay of 3 major rivers. So northern plains, right, the normally plains are considered as fertile in terms of soil, right? At the same time, it also considered as ample of water supply, right? And here in the northern plain of India, so we have 3 major rivers which plays a prominent role. So there is Indus River, the Ganga River, and the Brahmaputra River with their tributaries, right? Tributaries, whenever we say tributaries, so tributaries are the small streams which gets connected with the main stream or main river, right? So the river has lots of tributaries, isn't it? So the small streams are called the tributaries of the rivers, right? And we also have distributaries. So distributaries are others, again the small stream which gets let's say separated from the main river and forms different landforms such as deltas, right? All right, so after this, these plains are formed of alluvial soil due to the deposition of alluvium in a vast basin at the foothill of Himalaya over the millions of years. So as I was saying before, that northern plain is considered as very, very suitable for agriculture purposes because these are the regions which are normally flooded by the major rivers such as Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. right, where the rivers plays a role of depositor of fine sediments, right, alluvial soil for the fertile soil, right, which are brought down from the top hill in the form with the river, right, and it gets deposited in the foothill of Himalayas. All right. The plain being about like 24,000 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad. All right, so this is the let's say how big. It describes how big the plain area, right? And the densely populated physiographic division. So out of the physiographic division so far, right, we have from there, let's say it is the only one physiographic division which has the highest density of population. Wow. So we'll discuss how and why it is considered, or how it facilitated, right? Since we know very well, right, if we talk about the early civilization of the world, even the Indian civilization, right, Indus Valley civilization, it took place on a very riverbank of River Indus. Same goes with the Mesopotamian civilization, Egyptian civilization, right? Then we have even Chinese civilization. Most of the world civilization took place near the river banks, because the river provides them ample of water supply. At the same time, it also facilitates people to do agriculture. Okay. So it is rich in soil, right, with adequate water supply and favorable climate. So here comes the climate on the role. So climate also plays a very important role, right, for the, let's say, there will be a very less densely populated, there will be a very less density of population in certain areas where there is a shortage of water supply. Very true. And even if there is an extreme climate, then what happens is the density of population is very less, right, as compared to those regions which has favorable climates. All right, so northern plain is very good for agriculture, and we can say, as we have already studied in economics, that buffer stock. So we normally buy the buffer stock, the government buys through the FCI, right, from those states where there is a surplus production. So most of the surplus producing states state lies in northern region, northern plain of India. Okay. So this is one of the picture of River Ganga, and I just wanted to show you how densely it's populated. Right? So I just wanted to show you the density of population. All right. So moving further, we have the northern plain is broadly divided into three sections. Right. The Punjab plain, then we have the Ganga plain, then we have Brahmaputra plain. Okay, so see, when we say Punjab plain, right, so because Punjab, in this particular region of Punjab, right, it is let's say irrigated by 5 different rivers: Satluj, Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum and Indus. So this particular region we call it as a Punjab plain. And when we come across this particular region, the Ganga plain, right, here we call it as a Ganga plain, because this particular region, it's, let's say, irrigated by the river Ganga, right? And here we call it as a Brahmaputra plain, because here the prominent river is the Brahmaputra, right? Okay. So on the basis of northern plain, and we have the different soils, right, such as Bhangar and Khadar. So I just try to categorize, differentiate these two. So first, the Bhangar is, let's say, the old alluvial soil, whereas the Khadar is a new alluvial soil. And the Bhangar soils are normally found far from the river basin. So that means it's very clear that when the landmass is far from the river basin, then it is less fertile as compared to those sediments which are nearby the river basin, right? So in a Khadar, the soil are found close to the river basin. That's why ultimately it's more fertile, right, and suitable for agriculture. Whereas Bhangar soils are normally not suitable for agriculture. Sorry. Then let's say the soil contains calcareous deposit, locally known as kankar, And in Qadar they are renewed every year, and so are fertile and ideal for intensive agriculture. So when we say renewed, that means when the amount of water increases in the river during the rainy season, right? So it floods those particular region, and that's what renewed refers, right? Okay. So this particular region is considered as a Bangar soil, right, which is way away from, let's say, the main river course, and this alluvial soil. Okay, so this is the difference between Bangar soil and Qadar, right? One is the old alluvial, and another one, Qadar, is a new alluvial. Okay, so we have the peninsular plateau now. So now we are coming down to the Indian subcontinent and Indian peninsular plateau. So peninsular plateau, right? So the peninsular plateau is a tableland composed of old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rock. So we can imagine whenever we say plateaus, 토강라 그러와 베개니 토강. 야 토강라도 서치만 저기 세바나 한데로지 사제디 차단나 두단 한데로지는 아주 조선의 신이야 됐어. 약간 시바 강실에 사자 plain such a thang rojina la such a burdu thengyo ba tendela khala sa so plateaus la ela right. So plateaus is now peninsular plateau is a tableland composed ba, so it is more or less like a shape of a table, right? From its coming up from, let's say, from a plain area, it's very identical in shape. It looks like a table, right? And it is mostly made up of crystalline rocks, igneous rock and metamorphic rocks. Right? So most of the time peninsular plateau is forms all back to the Gondwana land. Right? The Gondwana land formation, the drifting. So we believe that this is peninsular plateaus are the part of. So it is formed due to the breaking and drifting of Gondwana land and making it the oldest landmass. So as I was saying, this form chair the Gondwana land comes from the Chavarella, the Chiganzuk Saja Kora Hashik Dredger, Saigo, the Kugatanda, Tamaking, Shukinki. And the plateaus are broad and shallow valleys and round hills. Sakurang the Sotan Zola, Kasia. Gachamboya, Kasian, things about Ram, Ego, and strong roger, but the dead ocean, Kasian, Gokoj, the dead ocean, alright, so we can divide this peninsular plateau into two different parts, that is the Central Highland and the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so we have the picture, right? So the plain area and the land is elevated, and it is very identical, and these are normally made out of, let's say, crystalline rocks, igneous rocks, and metamorphic rocks. Right. Okay, so when we say peninsular plateau and the division of peninsular plateau, we have in the north part we have the Central Highland, and in the southern part we have Deccan Plateau. Right. Oh yes, so here it's very clear. So in the northern part we have Central Highland, right, and these two are normally divided by the river called Narmada River, right, separates these two, right, and in the Central Highland, right, it is wider in the western side and it gets narrower in the eastern sides, right, and we have Aravalli Hills, we have Vindhyan Hills, Vindhyan Range, sorry, and it also includes the part of Malwa Plateau, right? Okay, so we'll discuss about this in a further session. Okay, so Central Highland, so the part lying in the north of the Narmada River. So here the role of Narmada. So the river Narmada plays as a role of intersectors between these two parts, right? Covering the major part of Malwa Plateau is known as Central Highland. Alright, so and here we can see very clearly, so Central Highland, right, it gets separated by Narmada River here, right, and it is wider in the western side and it gets narrower in eastern part, and it also includes the Malwa Plateau, right? Okay, alright, so the Vindhyan Range is bounded by the Central Highland on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. The river draining this region, namely Chambal, the Sindh, the Patwas and the Kain from the southwest to northeast. There are rivers, right? Chambal here, right? Sindh is here, so Patwa and Kings. So this river normally irrigates, drains this central highland, right? And for your information, most of the Indian river flows from west to east, except Narmada, right? So Narmada flows and discharges in Arabian Sea. Rest all the rivers goes to discharge in Bay of Bengal. Okay, so the central highland are wider in the west, as I was saying, right, and it gets narrower in the east. So here we can see very clearly it is wide as compared to here in the east, right? Okay, all right. Eastward extension are called Bundelkhand and Bakhelkhand, right? So when we say the eastward extension towards the eastward, we call it as a Bundelkhand and Bakhelkhand, right? Okay. So after this we have Deccan Plateau. So whenever we say Deccan Plateau, the thought comes in our mind is in South India, right? So the Deccan Plateau is triangular landmass that lies to the south of the river Narmada. So it is very clear that, as we have already seen here, right? Just see. So this is the Deccan Plateau, this part, right? Okay. So it gets separated from Central Highland by the river Narmada, right? As we have already discussed. And it is a triangular shape. Triangular. Oh yeah. Alright, so the Deccan Plateau is high in the west and slopes gently eastward, right? As we can see, here is like plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently towards eastward, right? Then an extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast, locally known as Meghalaya, Kabri, Anglong, Anglong Plateaus, and North Chachar Hills. Alright, so and separated from Chotanagpur Plateau by folds. Okay, and when we say folds, then we are discussing about the movement of bleach. Right? Three prominent ranges are from the west to east are the Garo, the Khasi, and Jantai Hills. Alright, so then along the hills ki keja sewa, but it was also. After this we have the Western Ghat, right? I'll just show you. So when we say Western Ghat, so this particular part is called as the Western Ghat, and here we have the Eastern Ghat, right? Okay. Okay, yes. So this particular portion here, you can see the range of mountains, right? And over here also, so these are called as the Western Ghat and the Eastern Ghat, right? And the place right between the Western Ghat and the Bay of Bengal is called as coastal plains. The same goes with the Western Ghat as well, and the Arabian Sea. The land between, right, area between these two are called as coastal plains. So the Western Ghat runs parallel to the Arabian Sea, and the Eastern Ghat runs parallel to the Bay of Bengal. So Western Ghat marks the western edge of the Deccan Plateau. So it becomes a kind of a margin edge. It lies parallel to the western coast. The Western Ghat are higher than the Eastern Ghat. Okay, so it talks about the elevation of the range, right? And the elevation is normally 900 to 1600 meters. And the Western Ghat cause orographic rain by facing the rain-bearing moist wind to raise along the western slopes of the Ghat. So when we say orographic, so that means the wind blowing from the Arabian Sea, right? What happens is it hits to the windward side of the Western Ghat, and the moist air, when it flows towards Krishna, or let's say towards this side, this particular side is rain shadow area, right? Leeward side. Here we call it, when the wind blows and hits this particular region, we call it as a windward side. And just behind this windward side we have a leeward side, right, where the most of the moist air loses moisture and becomes hot and dry and flows here. Okay, so the height of the Western Ghat progressively increases from north to south. From north to south, the height of the ranges increases, and the highest peak includes Anyamudi. Anyamudi is the highest peak in the Western Ghat of 2,695 meters, and Doda Beta of 2,637 meters. So here we are talking about the peaks, highest peaks that are in the Western Ghat, and most of the time behind this Western Ghat on the leeward side, the weather, the climatical condition are normally very let's say since it lies in a rain shadow area or leeward side, it receives very less rainfall. And here, due to the, let's say, being in the windward side, weather are normally very favorable since it is also a coastal area. Okay, so the Eastern Ghat now. So we have already discussed the Western Ghat. Right. So now Eastern Ghat. Here we talk about this particular region. Right. And as you can see, this range of Eastern Ghat are cut through by rivers, as River Krishna and Godavari. Okay, so the Eastern Ghat marks the eastern edge of the Deccan Plateau, as same goes with the Western Ghat, and it lies parallel to the eastern coast. Coast ke parallel here. And Mahendragiri. Mahendragiri is considered as one of the highest peak in Eastern Ghat, and its elevation is 1,501 meters high. Okay. And the Eastern Ghat are discontinued. As I was saying in the beginning, it gets discontinued and intersected by the rivers, right, and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into Bay of Bengal. So we have Krishna and Godavari River. So one of the distinct feature of the Peninsular Plateau is the black soil area, right? So black soil area are normally considered as or called as Deccan traps. So here you need to remember, so black soil are normally found in Deccan Plateau, and these regions are called the Deccan Trap. Okay. Okay, so the next is the Indian desert. So as we know, India being a massive country with lots of different physical features, right? So one of the relief feature is the Indian desert, so called the Thar deserts, right? So as you can see here in this portion, it says semi-arid. That means it is not completely dry, okay, as compared to the desert area of India. So India desert lies towards the western margin of Aravalli Hills. So Aravalli Hills, you can see it is over here. So on the western side, it is the desert, the Indian desert. So being a desert, it is very obvious that this particular region will receive very less rainfall, and at the same time, it is not so let's say suitable, or there is no possibility for vegetation. All right, so that is why this particular region is very dry, at the same time lack of vegetation, right? So it has arid climate with low vegetation cover, as I was saying this, and streams appears during the rainy season, soon disappears in the sand. So it is especially during the monsoon season, right? Although due to the rain, they may form some springs, but it won't last for long, right? It gets submerged or into the sand, and there is only one river here in desert. That is the Luni River, which flows somewhere around here, right? Okay, so so Luni is the only large river in the region. Branches covers large area, but longitudinal dunes are more prominent near Indo-Pak boundaries. So when we say branches, that then we normally see this kind of structures of sand, which are in the shape of crescent shape, right? And longitudinal dunes are like this kind of dunes, right? And these are more prominent in the area or the place which the area particularly which shares boundary with the Pakistan. All right. After this, we have the coastal plains. As I have mentioned earlier, the coastal plains are normally considered towards this particular region, right? The coastal area in between the Bay of Bengal, if we are talking about the eastern part of India, the Bay of Bengal and the Eastern Ghat, there is a landmass which is known as the coastal plain. Okay, so the western coast sandwiched between the Western Ghat and Arabian Sea, as you can see here, right? So we are like looking to both of the coastal plains. So first we will discuss about the western coastal plains. All right, so the western coast being in a westernmost edge of the country or peninsula, right? And the western at the western coast, the coastal plains are normally in between the Arabian Sea and the coastal Western Ghat. Right. It consists of three sections. All right. The northern part is called as Konkan Plain or Konkan Coast, and in the central part we have the Kanand Plain, right? The Kanand Plain, which also shares the boundary with Karnataka and mostly Karnataka, right? And the third one, in the southern part, we have Malabar Coast. So this particular region is called as Malabar Coast. All right. So in the western part, western coastal plain, we have three section or three division or three categories. The first in the north is called as Konkan. Then the middle part or the central part is called as Kanand Coast, and the last one or the southern part is known as the Malabar Coast. Okay. After this, we have the eastern coast. As we have discussed in the western coast, it goes similar to the western coast for the location or the let's say particular area, let's say between the Eastern Ghat and the Bay of Bengal. So the plain along with the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. All right, as compared to the western coast, it is more wide and leveled. And the northern part is refers to as a northern Sikar. All right, here it is called a northern Sikar, and at the southern part it is known as Coromandel Coast. All right, Coromandel Coast. Okay, so the large rivers such as Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri have formed extensive deltas on this coast. So as I have mentioned before also, most of the major rivers, already major rivers gets discharged in Bay of Bengal except the Narmada River. Alright, so here we need to understand that as we know that river performs certain duties such as depositional and erosional work, right? So when this river gets discharged on Bay of Bengal, then what happens is it forms certain landforms in the coastal areas which are popularly known as the deltas. All right, and one of the largest delta is, let's say, the Sundarban Delta in Bengal, right? Now we'll move to the islands, Indian islands. So the group of islands composed of small coral islands. If we are looking into the Arabian Sea, we have Lakshadweep Island, right? And on let's say Bay of Bengal, we have Andaman and Nicobar. So this in this Arabian Sea, we have the island of India that is called the Lakshadweep. Right? These are the group of islands composed of small coral islands. All right, as you can see, these are disintegrated, and it is not a single solid or landmass, right? Earlier they were known as Lakshadweep. All right, so this particular region is known as Lakshadweep, Minikoi, and Amindev, right? So later on it got a name called Lakshadweep in the year 1973. It was renamed. All right, so now we know it as a Lakshadweep Island. Right. So it covers a small area of 32 square kilometers. Right. The area here, the Sajagi catches here, 32 square kilometers. And Karavati the Karavati is administrative headquarter of the island. So this particular region, right, it is the headquarter, administrative headquarter of the Lakshadweep Island. All right, let's move ahead. Island group had great diversity, right? And not only normally what happens is this particular the islands are normally less populated, right, as compared to the mainland or the plains, right? But this particular region is also very rich in flora and fauna, animal life, animal and plant life, right? And Piti Islands, right, are like have a very rich, or let's say these are meant for like bird sanctuaries. Alright, after this we'll move to the Bay of Bengal and the island in the Bay of Bengal, that is Andaman and Nicobar Island, right? So this is the map of Andaman and Nicobar Island, and let's quickly see, right, the elongated chain of islands, right? The elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal extending from north to south, alright? Then they are bigger in size, yes. If we compare with the Lakshadweep, then it is more bigger in size, right? Whereas in the Lakshadweep we have like more or less like a coral islands, right? So and numerous, and they are more numerous and scattered, right, as compared to the Lakshadweep. Then if we when we look into the Andaman and Nicobar, then we can categorize or divide this into two sections, right? The northern part is normally called as Andaman, and the southern part is called as Nicobar. Alright, so together we call it as Andaman and Nicobar. Okay. These islands are believed to be elevated portion of submarine mountains. So normally what happens, as we have already discussed, and we have been discussing this since from the very beginning of the session, that whatever let's say relief features forms in a surface or the lithosphere, right, are the result of the movement or the endogenic force from beneath the earth, right? And since we know that, and this particular island, right, it is believed that these are let's say elevated, right, due to the endogenic force and the movement of plates. And once it is believed that this particular region used to be under the sea, and these are the submarine mountains, all right, which came up, right, above the surface due to the movement of the plates. So these island groups are of great importance for the country. Yes, very true. See, if this particular island, right, plays very important role, because see, most of the Southeast Asia sea, right, if any cargo ship has to go through, then it has to go through this region, right? And as you know that recently there was a session between Australia and India. They signed a treaty where they accepted, or they let's say agreed to share their military base, right? Okay, so let's move further. So great diversity of flora and fauna. It's very similar with the Lakshadweep, right? It is also very rich in flora and fauna and very less populated, right? Then this island lies to the close to equator and experiences equatorial climate and has thick forest, right? That means it receives a very heavy rainfall, high rainfall, right, which ultimately resulting on, let's say, thick forest, you know, like the one which we have heard about, the Amazon forest, the evergreen forest, you know. Okay, so with this, I believe that we came to the conclusion of this chapter. And before we conclude, I just wanted to recapitulate a few things that we have covered in this session. So we have been discussing about the physical features of India, which includes the mountains in the north, the plains, the plateau, which is divided into two, North Central Highland and Deccan Plateau. Then we discuss about the Indian desert, right? And we also discuss about the Punjab Himalaya, we have Kumam Himalayas, we have Nepal Himalaya, Sikkim Himalaya, and we have Assam Himalaya. And we also discuss about the provincials, Naga Hills, Mizo Hills, and then we went to the Western Ghat, Eastern Ghat. Then we discuss about the coastal plains in the Western Ghat and coastal plains in Eastern Ghat. Then we discuss about Lakshadweep, and then at the end we discuss about the Andaman and Nicobar. All right. So with this, I conclude this